This is Dream Power Radio, the place where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Hello, and welcome to Dream Power Radio. I'm your host, certified dream life coach, Debbie Spector-Weissman. This is a place where we talk about dreams, both daytime and nighttime dreams. Now you can use them to make the internal shift to a life you love and rediscover the truth of who you really are. When I was a little girl, my older sister created a piece of artwork and hung it in her bedroom. At the center of the picture was a quote from Shakespeare, "To thy own self be true," written in beautiful calligraphy surrounded by a border of colorful flowers. I thought it was pretty, and being a kid, I got hung up on the word thy, not really sure what it meant. The picture stayed there for years, even after she went off to college and I inherited her room. I never paid that much attention to it. Something I wish I did as I look back on it now. The phrase is simple but deep. Be true to yourself. Live your life with integrity. Don't let others make decisions that are within your power to make for yourself. If I had taken those words to heart back then, how much different my life would have been. It took me decades to learn the lessons behind that expression. Years in which I shoved my needs and desires behind those around me. Years in which I let life run me instead of running my own life. But that's the old me. Fortunately, thanks to working with my dreams and using other modalities, I understand myself better and now choose how to live my life. And as a result, I'm happier now than I've been in years. I realize that puts me in the minority these days. As study after study has shown that Americans in particular have become a pretty unhappy lot. One report indicates that only 19% of us say they're very happy, and that women in their 50s tend to be the most unhappy of any group. Talking about the reasons for this would probably take up the entire episode. But as you know, I'm all about looking for solutions. So I'm turning today to one of my favorite experts on how to create a life well lived and full of happiness. Transformational specialist, Dr. Dravon James. Dravon has devoted her life to helping others create their dream lives using her philosophy of everyday peace. She's an author, inspirational speaker, coach, podcast host, and I'm so excited to have her back on Dream Power Radio. So, welcome back, Dravon.
Well, Debbie, I'm super excited to be here. It's my pleasure. I'm happy to see you again. It's been a while, and I'm super happy and excited for this topic. I know people are going to resonate with this.
Oh, I certainly believe that is so true. So I'm going to start off with this, Dravon. Are you happy?
I am happy. And I got to say that it's not to say that, oh, nothing wrong happens in my life. People are always, if I have a bad day, people know I'm the happiness lady. They'll say, oh, what's going on? You're not happy right now. Well, I feel that sometimes I get a double serving of troubles in my life. And just like everybody else, I have my ups and downs. However, I practice on purpose exercising my happiness muscle. So thereby I spend less time in my unhappy state. And so when I get there, I'm not there for long and less frequently, right? So that's the idea. I'm going to experience all of the emotions just like everybody else, but I'm going to be able to bounce back into my desired state quicker thanks to years and years of exercising my happiness muscle.
That is so true. I mean, because everybody thinks, well, if you're happy, you can't be happy all of the time. I mean, nobody can be happy all the time because life happens and there are things, but being able to choose happiness makes all the difference in the world.
It does. You're right. Life happens. Things happen that really are disappointing. It's all kinds of things, tragedies happen, and we respond to them. We're emotionally healthy and intelligent. We respond to those things. But the thing is, we don't want that to settle into us and become how we live our life in this unhappy state. No, we're going to experience that emotion. We're going to, live and breathe through it and give it the time that it needs. And then we're going to go back to our desired state.
Oh, that is so true. But are there people who are actually born happy?
Well, they say that a percentage of the population actually is born a little bit happier than others. But here's the good news on that. No matter where you are right now, whether you consider yourself the happiest person or the least happy person, the important thing to know is that you and I, anyone, can increase their happiness quotient by 40%. It's amazing. You could be 40% happier today. And why is that significant, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because the happier you are, the more creative you are. That's spurs the creativity juices because you don't have all that energy going to cortisol levels and all this stress stuff. What happens is your parasympathetic nervous system, the part of the nervous system that allows you to be more creative, right? Figure out how to make more money if that's your thing. Figure out how to have better relationships if you're struggling there. Figure out how to have a better health situation. All that happens when you're relaxed and you're happy. So being 40% happier is within our control.
Yes. And when you are happy, your energy level is higher. And that's what helps promote that creativity and that ability to handle the negative things that might happen, like stresses, things like that. But let's talk about stress for a second, though, because most people live very stressful lives. I mean, everything going on today is all about the stress of raising a family, the stress of raising money, the stress of finding a relationship if you don't have it, the stress of dealing with the outside forces of what's going on in the country. All of those things, tend to put us in that state where we find, how can we be happy? Because we're feeling that stress all the time. So what are some of the ways we can deal with that stress so we turn that stress into happiness?
Well, one of the things I always tell people is to be aware of what the stresses are in your body, right? Because oftentimes we don't realize that we're under stress until it gets to such a high pressure, you feel like the top is going to blow, right? But stress is one of those insidious things that it's like a computer virus. Once it gets root in there, it's working this little magic, if you will, until boom, you explode. And so we want to sort of catch that stress if we can, sort of in the beginning. So one of the things I work with my client about doing is frequent body scans. And this could take, it could be really quick or it could be really slow. It's up to you and how much time you have. But basically, it's just a body scan where we start at the soles of the feet and go to the crown of the head. And we're just checking in. Well, how do my feet feel? You don't have to say it out loud, but if you do, that's fine. And you're just looking and you go up, how do my ankles feel? How do my calves feel? And if you feel any tension, you just stop. You just stop and you just sort of breathe into that space. Ask your body, are we stressed about anything? Because the great thing about the body is the body does not lie. The mind lies all of the time, right? It convinces us to do things because it thinks it's the right thing to do, even though we know in our heart and soul we don't want to. So the mind does that. It can be a bit manipulative. The body tells the truth. You get this knot in your stomach, even though your mind is saying, yeah, go ahead, do it. There's a knot in your stomach that says, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. So you just kind of watch where there's stress building up in the body and you don't even have to have an answer for it. You just have to ask what's going on and sort of just breathe. And even you may find that the offending thing doesn't go away, but your body starts to calm down. It allows you to go back into a less stressful state. So doing those body scans frequently, I used to set my phone to go off every couple of hours. So I would do a body scan.
And then it works. It works.
Yeah.
It does. Well, you talked about the body, but let's go back to talk a little bit about the mind, because that mind of ours races all the time, even when we're not aware of it. We're thinking things, usually negative things all the time. And that also helps keep us from feeling happy because we have all these other worries and negative thoughts going on in our heads.
Yes, we do. I want to tell you a quick story about me. Maybe 2 weeks ago, I was in a very, very stressful situation and someone asked me how I felt. And this is the analogy that came right out of my mouth, right? But I think it's so appropriate for our discussion today. So I apologize for how gross this is. But so someone said to me, why are you so anxious? I said, in my mind right now, it feels like there are 1,000 roaches just falling around, right? Like the worry was everywhere. It couldn't go turn to left. It was just all these little bugs just called the worry bugs in my mind, right? Okay. So if you know anything about bugs, most bugs scatter when you turn the lights. This is what I call the light of awareness. So when that person asked me that and that came out of my mouth, I said, whoa, where is this practice that you do called the light of awareness? And so I immediately stopped and I started just paying attention and started asking myself questions. What are you worried about? Let's list it. Well, guess what? Just that question turned the light on the bugs of worry, the worry bugs started scattering. I was like, right, because right then and there, my adrenals, my nervous system started, because I was paying attention to myself. I was no longer letting myself be in this autopilot of worry. I started paying attention. So one thing I tell people to turn the light of awareness on is start asking yourself questions. What are you worried about? Right? And if you can write it down, great. If you're not in a position to write it down, just say it out loud. Oh, I'm worried about the light bill. Oh, school tuition is due. This is due. That's due. What do you think would happen? Oh, this would happen. The lights would get turned on. What would happen if the lights got turned on? It'd be dark. What would happen if it was dark? And you start realizing, oh, I'll be okay. I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like it at all, but I'll be okay. Not as scary as you think it is, right?
Because we're always worried about things that might happen. And we put that might and turn it into a fact, like, oh, this is going to happen. But we can't predict the future. We don't know it's going to happen. And why spend all that mind time talking about all those things when instead you can focus on what's going on that can be happy in your life?
You're so right. And so that's a great question. You say, why do we spend so much time worrying? Well, everything in our environment reinforces worry. And we've been taught since we were little that worry equals preparation. It does not, right? But we say worry equals preparation, right? Aren't you worried that your grades aren't high enough? Aren't you worried that your weight isn't where it should be? Aren't you worried, right? And so that is energy that we're just putting on, focusing on the problem, right? Instead of reframing that, saying, wouldn't you be excited if this were happening? Wouldn't you be excited if your grades improved? What do you need to do to make that happen? Instead of, oh my gosh, I'm so worried that the grades aren't in. Wouldn't you be excited, right? Just a question. Wouldn't you be excited if your relationship improved? You'd be excited if my relationship improved. Now you've given the brain something to think about that's not worried. Now your brain is thinking possibility. What can I do right now to make that a possibility? Instead of, I am so worried about this scary future if this relationship doesn't work, or if these grades don't improve, if my diet doesn't improve. No, you ask about what it is that you want, right? And I find most effective is asking feeling questions, right? Because we're exercising our happiness muscle. Wouldn't you be happy if this were happening? You'd be happy if that would happen. Answer the question. The answer is yes. The answer is not, well, there's no way that's going to happen. I didn't ask you what the probability is. But see, the mind will do that. The mind will start talking about the probability. And then you have to go back and talk to the mind in a loving and gentle way and say, no, I didn't ask about what the probability was. I asked, would you be happy? Let's just deal with that. And the mind will reluctantly start to follow you down that pathway, but it will follow because you own the mind. The mind doesn't own you. They say that a restless mind is looking for a place to settle. It is not looking to be restless, but until you command it, give it a direction to go in, it will vacillate between one worry to the next worry, from the past to the future, never settling in the present moment until you sit it down. And when you think of the mind like this, of a 2-year-old who's tired and needs a nap, they never really just go lie down. They're running from this toy to that toy. They're grabbing at this. You have to pick that 2-year-old, put them in your lap, rub their back. And our mind will give us that same sigh of satisfaction, present moment satisfaction, when we ask it present moment feeling questions that bring it to the present moment. Wouldn't you be happy if? Yeah. The only answer is yes.
Absolutely. And that's a great question to ask and a great question to end this segment. We're talking all about happiness with Dr. Dravon James, and we'll be right back. Hey, this is Debbie Spector-Weissman. I have a question for you. Are you a business owner with big dreams but struggling to turn them into reality? If so, I'm here to help you. I'm offering a free Dream Big Business Breakthrough Session where we'll identify the biggest challenges holding you back and create a plan to overcome them. Don't wait too long because this offer won't last forever. Take action today and book your free Dream Big Business Breakthrough Session with me by visiting my website, thedreamcoach.net. Let's make your dreams a reality together.
Welcome back to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Yes, welcome back to Dream Power Radio. I'm your host, Debbie Spector Weissman, and we're talking all about happiness with Dr. Dravon James. Well, right before the break, Dravon, you were talking about asking ourselves these feeling questions to get to that point where we say, wouldn't you be happy if? Which is just a wonderful way to phrase things. And it brings me to talk about the power of language, because so often we're not feeling happy because we phrase things in a negative way that's going to put us in that space where we're feeling defeated, where we're feeling unempowered. And so talk a little bit about how we use language to help make ourselves feel happy.
Yes, so the power of words, so very important. So let's just talk about the power, what we're accustomed to. Words make us worry. Oh, it's going to be a snowstorm tomorrow. I don't have any milk, I don't have any bread. They make us worry, right? The stock market is dropping. Oh my gosh, my whole retirement plan's in the stock market. Words make us worry. We know that, but we're not consciously aware of it all the time. I'm leaving you. Woof, worry, right? Those words make us worry. Now, if the words have the power to make us worry, and I mean keep us up at night worry, lose weight worry, lose hair worry, they cause worry. We know that. We see that all around us. But what we don't consider and what we don't hear a lot of conversation about is that the words in reverse work too. Words in reverse, words such as the phrase, wouldn't you be happy? Or this is no big deal. You survived worse than this. These things, and this is no big deal. First of all, acknowledges that something is happening. I love using that phrase with my clients. This is no big deal, because what is the this? Well, let's talk about what this is. Oh my gosh. Have you ever been in a situation that was similar to that? And we start going through their life story, and people love to tell you how bad their life's been. And you get through, say, oh my gosh, you went through that? And you're still here? Well, you can go through this. We have to be our own great historian. And the good thing about being your own great historian is that stuff happened in the past. You're talking about it, which makes you the victor over that, not the victim. The victim's not here to tell the story, but you're here to tell the story and start living in that. Oh my gosh, thrive through that. I thrive through that. Pretty soon you're sitting up tall, you're pushing your shoulders back, your chest is up, and you're realizing that this too shall pass. I am fine. Right? Words can do that. So words take discipline. And that's why I say exercising the happiness muscle. For far too long, for many of us, we're accustomed to using a pessimistic view, thinking that pessimistic view helps us to get prepared. It puts a shield of defense around us. It does just the opposite. Right? It lowers our resistance. We get sicker. We catch more flus and colds and all that stuff. So you can read all about that. There's a lot of science behind it. And the true test is that those words make us feel like we're not enough. I don't know enough. I don't have enough. I'm not supported enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not rich enough. All the enoughs that you can think of, those words do that. Using the opposite words takes practice. You have to practice. I read an article and it talked about, instead of this word, say that word. Start writing down positive words. And a book called The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. I read that so many times when I was a teenager. And he gave a list of words that, you could say. And one of my favorite words was tranquility. I love the way it felt in my belly when I said it, right? And so, but start writing down your list of words that make you feel strong, make you feel powerful, make you smile, right? Start writing those words. Use the power of words to reroute your emotional state. Your creativity will go through the roof. You'll be solving problems that you didn't even know you had. Like, well, wait a second. Look at that. So you'll be doing some amazing things for yourself when you change your words. Sounds easy, but it will take practice.
Well, everything that's worthwhile does take practice, that's for sure. But I love the way you said tranquility. You're singing it.
Yeah. And I've been doing it. I read that book when I was 17 years old. And that was one word. And then the other word was serenity. Oh my gosh. I'd hear those words. And I thought to myself, oh, that's what I want. That's what I want. And then I would start saying, would you be happy right now to have this whole environment be tranquil? Yes, I would. Answer the question that way. And then my mind automatically starts looking for peace and calm in the middle of chaos. And guess what? It always finds it because it's inside of me. It's inside of you. You'd be amazed.
I know, because as much as you say all that negativity is in there, but all that positivity is there too. It's just hidden. We have to let it out. Dravon, how much more happiness lies in living in the now?
All of it. I'm so glad you brought this up. You know why that is? Because all of our power exists in the now. I don't know anyone, Debbie, who has the power to go back and change yesterday. We can't go back there and put, the money that we spent on that purse. Well, we can exchange it, but we can't change the event. We can't go back and change that event or the words that came out of our mouth. And nor can we jump ahead in the future and change things there. But right now in this moment, we are completely powerful, right? We get to decide when we're conscious and aware what we're going to think about. We get to decide what words are going to come out of our mouth. And we just talked about how important the words are. And sometimes I have this posted in my car. It says, until I have something meaningful to say, I will say nothing. And I put meaningful means equals, I have equal signs, meaningful equals optimistic. So not meaningful dread, not meaningful pessimistic. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, I got nothing. So I have to just be quiet, right? And so that's a good choice. I'm making a conscious decision in my present moment that I can't think of anything optimistic right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be quiet until it comes to me. There's so much power in stillness. You'd be amazed at that too. So all of our power in this present moment, the power to choose the words that are coming out of our mouth, the power to choose what is happening with our facial muscles, the idea that I could frown, right? Or I could smile, right? Smiling feels good. I'll smile. I could sit like a bump on the log, or I could get up and move my body and move some positive energy around, wiggle my toes, wiggle my fingers. I could do that just to start moving the positive energy around. Things that we can do in the present moment. I can make a list of all the things that I'm grateful for, no matter how small. And usually the smaller, the better. The smaller, the better, because that means you're getting to the root of things. I'll tell this quick story. In 2015, I had what I call the trifecta of pain. I lost my job. My marriage was 20 years was beginning its exit in my life. And I got diagnosed with autoimmune disease. And I have a practice every morning. I would wake up every morning and I write a gratitude card. I had to write 3 things that I'm grateful for that happened yesterday and 3 things that I'm grateful for that are going to happen today. And I looked at that card, and for the first time in many years, I couldn't think of anything to write. Tears were streaming down my face. And in that moment, I said, oh, I'm grateful that I can blink. And I got so excited. It propelled me out of the bed. So that when you dig deep and you realize there's some fundamental things that you've not been using as a tool, those are tools in your tool chest to help you along the way. It will make you more powerful in the present moment to face whatever it is that you are capable of facing. And you are a powerful individual. You are. Tell your own story. You know that you are.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought up the whole idea of gratitude, because one of my favorite things to do is to express gratitude. And a lot of times I'm coaching people, I'll tell them, write down 10 things you're grateful for. And I get this blank expression like, hey, what am I grateful for? And so then I have to prompt them, well, start with, are you grateful to be alive? Just start with that, or start with anything.
And I know there's someone listening to this program, because I had a client today who said to me, well, no, I'm not grateful to be alive. My life just sucks, right? I said, okay, I get it. So let's just say here, and I understand, I'm not going to diminish that, because we've all had those days where, what am I doing here, right? It's like Job from the Bible, right? What am I doing here? Couldn't get any worse. So let's just talk about this. Are you grateful to be able to breathe on your own, since you have to be alive? Are you grateful that you can swallow? I mean, you're alive after all, but you're swallowing on your own. And they're like, yeah, okay. Because when we really become aware of everything in the universe, as Einstein says, that is conspiring for our good, when we really become aware of all the stuff that is happening for our good, it's sort of, we sort of feel like, oh, I got something to work with. It's not all good all of the time. This is life. But doesn't mean that we have to be totally unhappy as life does what it has to do so that we can learn the lessons that we have to learn. My cousin used to say that there will be disappointment, there will be pain, but suffering is optional. And I equate suffering with unhappiness. When I'm unhappy, I am suffering. I will be unhappy during this journey, but I will spend less and less time in the state of unhappiness and more time in the state of happiness as I learn to exercise that happiness muscle.
Well, speaking of exercise and speaking of muscle, doing actual physical exercise is also a way to build up that happiness muscle.
Yeah. It stimulates that dopamine in the body, neurotransmitters in the body. They call the happiness neurotransmitters. And you'd be amazed. It does. You don't have to go out and run a marathon. You can go for a walk. And that starts moving norepinephrine. All that stuff's moving around in the body. You start to feel a little bit better. You can breathe a little bit deeper. Your mind is a little bit more clear. You got more clarity, right? And you have to be aware because these things are happening all the time, but because we're not tuned into it, because remember, that the world has us tuned to the frequency of worry. It's our job to go into that radio and change the station to the frequency of happiness. Now, you could flip it there for 2-3 seconds and get there for 2 or 3 seconds and it'll flip right back. That's okay. The more you keep going in there and turning it back, eventually it'll stay on that happiness frequency longer and longer, and it will flip off of that frequency less and less, right? You'll be able to witness something that's happening that you don't like. So, oh my gosh, I wish that wasn't happening. And you'll notice that your frequency doesn't flip all the way over to unhappiness. Isn't that something? I don't feel that. Your mind will sort of start wanting to go chase that unhappiness. You'll just have to talk to say, no. It's okay to be here at neutral. Neutral's a good place to be too.
Absolutely. You talked briefly about smiling before, and you actually advocate creating a smile journal. So tell me what that's all about.
I do. So I'll use this particular client that I had today, and we are new working together, and they're just now getting their smile journal exercise today. And so I tell people that you are happier than you know. You are, right? But because, remember, the world has us tuned into the frequency of worry, we got to change our own channel. And so a happiness journal is just something you could take around with you. She asked me today, because she used it on her iPad. I said, absolutely. I do like, for me, I use a little journal and a pen. I like to write it down. But she's going to do it on her iPad. And what you're going to do is you're going to jot down when you catch yourself smiling. It means you're going to be in a state of awareness, presence, right? You're going to catch yourself smiling. My face just do that. You know, for me, one time I was in a park, I wasn't feeling my happiest, and I saw a little girl in some red shoes, made me think of click your heels 3 times and go home. I can't think of the tail right now, but it made me think of that. Little shoes, they were sparkly. And then when she walked, they were cute little shoes, like Mary Jane shoes. When she walked, they not only sparkled, but they lit up. My face lit up. And I said, oh, I had my little journal. I sat in that park and I wrote it down. You know, these shoes and that little girl, her muscles moving in those shoes, and the delight that I thought that she must have received in her face when her mom or her dad or her grandparents presented her with these shoes that were sparkly and lit up. So that made me smile. And at the end of the day, what I encourage people to do is to go back and look at your smile journal just before you go off to bed, right? And become super conscious, be totally present as you read it. And you'll see your lips start to turn upward just a little bit. That's a nice way to end your day. It's a nice way to reframe a day.
It certainly is. And this is a nice way to end this talk because I can't believe we're almost out of time. So, Dravon, final question. How can people find out more about you and your work?
Oh, you can find out more about me and this awesome work about being happy by visiting my website, which is just my name, drdravonjames.com. And when you get on that page, the first thing you're going to see is how to become the happiest person you know. Take a look around there. Consider joining our 12-week coaching program, Leaders in High Heels, a sure way to get to your goal of happiness and achieve other goals in your life as well.
Wonderful. Well, Dravon, thank you so much for being on Dream Power Radio today.
Well, thank you for having me.
We've been speaking all about the art of creating happiness with Dr. Dravon James. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. If so, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Until next time, this is Debbie Spicker-Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.
You've been listening to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector Weissman. For more information on Debbie or to sign up for her newsletter, go to dreampowerradio.com. This has been Dream Power Radio.